Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Download our free course, Profit for Small Firm Architects, at EntreArchitect.com/free course. You're listening to EntreArchitect Podcast, and this is episode 163. Welcome back to the EntreArchitect Podcast. My name is Mark R. LePage, and this is the podcast dedicated to a successful life as a small firm architect. Whether you have plans to someday start your own firm, whether you're in the process of launching a startup, or you might be an experienced small firm architect just trying to make a difference, this podcast is for you. My goal is to inspire you to build a better business so that you may pursue your purpose with passion and live the life of your dreams. I encourage each and every one of you to share your knowledge, share what you know. When we share with other architects, we all benefit and we all learn from one another. Our community will thrive and the profession will grow. When I first launched EntreArchitect podcast back on December 12th, 2012, one of my primary goals was to provide a platform for other small firm architects, entrepreneur architects, to share their story. And after 162 episodes, I have certainly succeeded with that goal. Well, this week, with this episode, I'm launching a new series called The Entrepreneur Architect, where I will be interviewing you, members of the EntreArchitect community. I want to know your story. I want to give you an opportunity to share some of your knowledge. Each guest will share their story and then answer a series of questions that will help them provide value to you, the listeners of our show. So let's do this. Let's get to know our first guest on the series, The Entrepreneur Architect, Michele Grace Hottel. This episode of EntreArchitect podcast is sponsored by NCARB, helping architects reach their career goals. Explore your options today at ncarb.org, ncarb.org. And TrueStyle, the leader in high-end architectural interior doors. Learn more at entrearchitect.com/TrueStyle. That's TRUSTILE. And FreshBooks, the easiest way to send invoices, manage expenses, and track your time. Learn more at freshbooks.com/architect. Michele Grace Hottel, welcome to EntreArchitect podcast.
Hi, Mark. It's great to finally meet you after 2 years of blogging, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've been following each other for a long time on social media and through the ArchiSpeak, the ArchiTalks blog series.
Yes.
Let me tell people a little bit about you. Michele has been practicing architecture with her own firm, Michele Grace Hottel Architects, since 1994 and is licensed in California and Texas. She's a commissioner and subject matter expert for California Architects Board and the City of La Mesa Planning Commissioner. As an active member of the ArchiTalk blog series, you can read her blog, I Never Met a Woman Architect Before, The Trials and Tribulations of Being a Woman Architect, Wife, and Mother, which I love the name of your blog. You can find that at INMA, as in I Never Met A, so INMA, womanarchitect.blogspot.com, and we'll have a link to that on the show notes as well. And let's start, Michele, with your origin story. Let's sort of go back in time, where you discovered architecture, what inspired you to become an architect, and give us your story, your journey to where you find yourself today.
Okay, Mark. Going way back, I think I always liked drawing. I mean, from a very young age, probably 3 or something like that, and then at 4 when I have an October birthday, so I had to kind of have a little test for getting into kindergarten. So
what date in October?
October 27th.
Okay, my son is October 3rd. I wanted to check.
Yeah. So it was October 27th, and so I went to the school and I met with the school psychologist. And one of the questions he said was like, "Oh, draw a picture of a person." And I actually drew a picture of him. And, he thought that was pretty funny. and he went and took it over to the principal's office immediately. And I guess they thought that I wasn't too weird because they let me into kindergarten. So, and probably, I really enjoyed drawing in kindergarten. And then in first grade, everybody had art and music class at our school. I grew up in a small suburb outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 1 square mile. It's called Dormont. And the teacher asked, the art teacher said, "Oh, would you like to come with some other students to my house on the weekends?" on Saturdays to have art classes. And, I asked my parents and they said, sure. So that was like in first grade.
Wow.
And, I think I really just, math was never my thing. I've always enjoyed, English and the sciences, the humanities, but that was really kind of a way that, I really felt accepted, I guess. That was kind of, that was, I think that was a good beginning to be encouraged, if a teacher sees a talent, in a child, to really kind of explore that and encourage that with them. So, and so I always, I was always drawing and, painting and other things. We had a really good arts program in Pittsburgh then. I don't know what it's like now. But probably in the 8th grade, I took a drafting class, because in the 8th grade they actually switched it over that both sexes had to be, they couldn't be separated. So, before that, wood shop was only taken by the boys, and home ec was only by the girls. That seems insane.
Imagine that today.
Yes, exactly. So it's like a lot of people, they talk about feminism and, I don't need to be a feminist. I consider myself to be not that old. I'm 52. So I think that people really have to look back to see how things were before. So, none of the 7th graders, so the guys that I was with, they didn't have to do home ec in 7th grade, because they only changed this when I was in 8th grade, but I actually got to do wood shop, and then, but it also included drafting. So I drafted something. And then also in 8th grade, we had a health class, and we were supposed to, pick our career in 8th grade. But
right. The rest of your life determine it.
Yeah. At age 12. Yeah. I guess I was age 12 or something like that. So I picked 3 things. One of them was an artist. The second one was an architect. And then, because there was so much math involved, and, I could see all of the math that was going to be, what classes I had to take to be an architect, I also put drafter. So when I went into high school, I took art, I think in 9th grade, but then in 10th grade, they had a drafting class that also included some architectural drafting. So I did that. And then in 11th and 12th grade, we could go half the day to regular high school, and then half a day to a technical school that was in the area that all the high schools were kind of feeding into. So I took, it was, I think that, for 2 years you went there, and it was called mechanical drafting and design, or design technology or something like that. So I drafted there. So that was really, and because I didn't have time in high school to really do any art classes, I was also taking art classes on Saturday at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. They had a Saturday teen art program there from 9 to 12 on Saturday morning. So I guess that really kind of prepared me for architecture school. We were going to have to do a lot of work. So we moved to California, and I started going, we weren't residents of California yet, so I started going to the community college for 2 years, and then transferred to Cal Poly Pomona, and went to Cal Poly Pomona for 2nd and 3rd year. And then there's a program that we have, the international program in California. You can go abroad for a year, and you still pay the same amount as in-state tuition. So that's a really good deal. They still have that program. And so I went there, I went to Denmark, and then, I had my 5th year back at Cal Poly, and then I started I started working for a woman architect in Santa Monica for a few years, then went back home for kind of that idle year. The economy, by the time it was, so I graduated in 88, it was around 88, 89, we were kind of, we were kind of in a recession.
Yeah.
So as we have been several times, then I went back, I worked for my stepdad who he's a design engineer, and he asked me if I wanted to do the tenant improvement on my on his office that he was working for. So I did that. I kind of did some design work for their house, and then I came, and then kind of would commute up to LA for other projects if people needed me for like a week or something. And I had started working for an architect in 1983. So even when I was going to school, I was working and always working for small firms. And so I worked for, this one architect kind of doing socially conscious projects. We worked on the Metropolitan Community Church, which is a project. It's a church for gay and lesbians, and also incorporated an AIDS memorial wall because there wasn't a cure for AIDS then. And then also the place that was next door, there was an organization called Caring for Babies with AIDS that was taking a lot of babies that were born with AIDS where their parents had passed away. And so they could, it was more of like a home environment. And then if they got really sick, they would go to the hospital. So I helped design that with this woman, and we did a lot of affordable, housing in Santa Monica for the Community Corporation of Santa Monica. And that's, and then also, I worked for, things on the other end, the, high-end custom residential for people in the entertainment industry. So
broad range. Good.
Yeah, broad range. Yeah. And then when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was kind of wondering if, I didn't know whether I wanted to put her in daycare and still work for somebody else. So I gave birth to her, and I had kind of stopped working at that place. And then 3 weeks later, somebody called and asked if I wanted to do some, contract work for them. And then I got other projects on my own, through referrals from people. And that's just kind of the way. And then, I had another child and we moved down to San Diego with another child. And then I think at that point, you're kind of like, gosh, am I really going to be able to have a firm? Like, am I really going to be able to practice architecture kind of in the traditional sense where, you're putting your entire life into your firm? And, I kind of said, what, architecture is going to be here 50 years from now. And if I take some time off, or I only do a few projects a year, that's going to be fine. So that's kind of how, I've been doing it for 23 years now. So
yeah, that's one of the wonderful things about our profession is that we can do that. That we can, work for big giant firms, or we can start our own practices and have a more flexible entrepreneurial life.
Yes.
So you're a perfect example of an entrepreneur architect, sort of, starting your own business and making it work. And the other thing that was very interesting, very early in your story, you talked about the influences of school and the people around you that sort of led you towards architecture. And I just wanted to highlight that and how important it is for the profession to go that far back, to educate teachers and educate guidance counselors on what architects are and what they do, and to show the possibility of people becoming architects.
Yes. I mean, I believe that's, I think that's really important, and, a positive, just kind of a positive experience, like kind of looking at that. The other, I was also my first year at Cal Poly, I was in second year, and they have a program. It's called the Summer Intensive Orientation Program that takes a lot of students from the area who are kind of, quote unquote minority students, and we have them for 1 week, and we stayed in the dorms, which is the only time that I had ever stayed in the dorms, and kind of gave them tastes of of architecture, landscape architecture, and urban and regional planning, and kind of open up their eyes to to careers that way. And it was really exciting because it's like you're with these kids, right? And for a week, and you're like, oh, are they gonna come back here? But I think I was in my fifth year. And there were two of the students that came up to me that had been there in that, and they said, oh, did you remember me? Do you remember me? And I was like, oh yeah, I remember you. So that was exciting. So
yeah. I just wanted to point that out. What was one big goal that you achieved in your career, and talk about how the process that you used to achieve that goal?
I think that would be getting licensed, and I don't know, when I think about it, I don't think that it's really that long of a process, but with when I actually did the math, it's 6 years of school, and and I had worked for firms while I was in school, so that counted towards my work experience, and so I was able to start taking the exam probably a year out of school. But that was back in the day. I know I think Collier Ward said that he likes to hear all my old war stories or whatever. That was back in the day when you could only take the exam, the written exam at once a year. Yeah. So everybody would kind of study and say, oh, are you going to take the exam? And then you would take the exam. Where I took it in Southern California was in the Pomona Fairgrounds building, and this huge building, and then they have all of the older people who started it with the lower numbers are at the front, and then they have everybody, you're in numeric order. So it's like, and then the people at the end, way in the back, are the people that have just started out. And I can just remember, I think the only part of me that's maybe somewhat competitive, I can remember seeing the people at the beginning, and I was like, I never want to be in that spot. People are like, oh, did you study for it, or you must be a good test taker? And I'm not a good test taker, or I wasn't before. I even questioned myself on those little Facebook quizzes. Is it orange? Is it green? And I don't know. Which did I see first? I think that it was kind of just, at Cal Poly, they kind of really encouraged people to get licensed. So it was just one of those things where, everybody's like, oh, okay, are you going to study for the exam? Or, of course, we copied all of the old, exam books, and, I took a few days off of work to go to my parents' house to just really kind of study, and then just took the whole next week and just took all the exams all in one. So I think there were 8 or 9 or something, just took them, every single day. You're taking the exams, you take all 8 or 9 exams. The last day, Friday, I believe, was the design exam, which was the big 12-hour exam. And, everybody was saying, oh, you're never, just in general, like, oh, people don't pass the design exam the first time around. And, so just go in and just try to do it. And I just went in, and, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I don't think that I ate anything the entire time. And at 5:30, all you can hear is, from everybody stippling, and I ended up, I passed it the first time. I mean, it was an architect's office building in San Antonio, Texas. And I think it had I think I used masonry, concrete block, and I put flags on the top. so, I mean, I just think that, you just have to do it. It's like, I think a lot of people, it's like, oh, I don't know, or I have to study, or, oh, I have to pass it the first time because it's so expensive. You just go in and you just do it. And I think, I passed half of them, including the design exam. And then the next couple years I passed it. I think I only took one seminar, and I think that might have been on site planning. And then I was actually working at a structural engineer's office in Venice Beach. And, they said, Michelle, and I wasn't passing general structures. I had taken it a couple times. And they said, well, what was your score? And I said, I don't know. I think it's like 85 or something. And they said, okay, well, you're not missing it by very much, because I think passing was maybe 89 or something. And, they said, we'll tutor you on. And so they tutored me, and, I passed it the next time. And then, then you move on to we have the California supplemental exam, which used to be an oral interview. So you'd have, the panel of 3 people in front of you, and then they ask you questions for, I don't know, like you can take as long as you want to. But I think maybe I was in there for 45, 50 minutes or something. And, again, when people are waiting for this perfect time to take the exam, it was the week after the Northridge quake.
Oh, wow.
I was 3 months pregnant and throwing up every day, at least a couple times a day. So it's like, sometimes just do it, just do it and try to get it done. And again, I was sitting there waiting to go in, to go upstairs in the elevator, and I'm sitting there looking, and there was a woman there that was going to take it, and she had a toddler in a stroller. And again, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that I pass it.
Yeah, right, because you don't want to.
Yeah, because I don't know whether I'll be able to do it if, after
right.
this.
Let's take a quick break here to say thank you to our platform sponsors here at EntreArchitect: NCARB, True Style Doors, and FreshBooks. Do you know someone in your firm who's always dreamed of getting licensed but was unable to complete the experience requirement? Well, maybe that person's you. Now you can get back on track with NCARB's new AXP portfolio. With this option, seasoned professionals can complete the Architectural Experience Program, the AXP, formerly the IDP. They've switched things up a little bit, by submitting an online portfolio. And along with meeting your state's education and examination requirements, the portfolio will help you or your employee get one step closer to becoming an architect. Learn more about the AXP portfolio at ncarb.org/EntreArchitect. TrueStyle is passionate about providing us small firm architects with the inspiration and the tools to transform our designs with the most authentic and distinctive doors available. And now we can see TrueStyle doors and how they worked with the National Association of Home Builders and architect Phil Keene to create a show-stopping interior door package for the 2017 New American Home. To download the case study or watch a video and learn how TrueStyle doors can help differentiate your next project, visit EntreArchitect.com/TrueStyle. TrueStyle, driven by design. Visit EntreArchitect.com/TrueStyle. So how do you get paid faster? Well, one more way is to use FreshBooks. FreshBooks is a full-function online accounting system built for us, small firm architects. We're small businesses. It includes invoices, expense management, time tracking, and so much more. It does everything I want it to do in order to get paid faster. I could send invoices efficiently on the same day. I could set up FreshBooks to automatically send reminders with the words and the timing that I want, and I can accept credit cards for payment. You should give it a try. When you're ready to give FreshBooks a try, go to freshbooks.com/architect and sign up for your free 30-day unrestricted trial and get ready for the simplest way to be more productive, more organized, and most importantly, get paid faster. freshbooks.com/architect. And don't forget to let them know that EntreArchitect sent you in the How Did You Hear About Us section. That leads us right into that next question is what's a struggle that you experienced? Certainly that would have been a struggle, taking that final exam there. But what is the struggle that you experienced and how did you overcome that struggle?
I think it's the struggle that I still have, and that is that I never passed college algebra, so I officially do not have my architecture degree. And I still, I still struggle with that. I still struggle. I did try to take it last year, and it's the same course, but they now teach it from a pre-calculus book, and it's a lot more difficult to go back after that. So I dropped it halfway through the semester. That's not something I'm proud of, but and I think the other one is kind of finding a way to be, an architect and a stay-at-home mom, because when I was in LA, after I had my daughter, I can remember being at an opening and a guy said to me like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm an architect, but I'm like raising my daughter right now, so I'm really only doing it part-time." And he said, "I could never do that."
Be it part-time architect or
Exactly, yes. He could never do that. And he could probably never breastfeed either.
Yeah, I'm sure he couldn't.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that, it's like there's more than one way to practice architecture.
Yeah,
and I think that, it probably took me a while to be, more confident in that. But I think that that's something that maybe comes with age and more acceptance from the profession.
That's also, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to create this series is to let architects tell their story so we can all recognize that we're not alone. That not only are we not alone as individual architects, but our stories are so similar very often that many of us are struggling with the things that you're struggling with. And so thanks for sharing that and being so honest with that. What about an aha moment, that moment where you discovered something and it sort of changed the way you look at what you're doing, and how did you turn that aha moment into success for your career?
I think that aha moment probably happened when my youngest was 3, and I had gotten a project, and it was a project that I was really excited about, and that's the project that I have. That's it's a Point Loma house, and it's kind of on, it's on a hillside, and he said, "Oh, I want glass everywhere," and this is probably in 2003. Yeah, 2003, because my third was born in 2000, so this is like 2003, and kind of before that, it's like I would kind of do projects, but, this was kind of a chance to be like, wow, and I said, oh, well, let's, and then I kind of talked with the structural engineer because I do, I did work for a structural engineer's office. Like maybe I'm a little bit, more in touch with structure than maybe somebody that has. I drafted a lot of the projects for, a lot of kind of the trendy architects on the west side of Los Angeles in the 90s. So I really felt like, wow, I'm going to do this project, and then seeing it built, and then I was like, wow, I can be, I can be a woman, and I can be a wife, and I can be a mother, and I can have my own firm, and and just be me, and it'll be fine, So I think that was kind of like the aha moment. So
I love that answer. I love that answer because I think, not only women, I think men struggle with that too. Men who want to be, very involved in their families. That's how I am. That's why we started our firm, is so we can be part of our families and sort of integrate our lives. And I think very often both men and women sort of struggle with that and don't always feel like it's okay. And then at some point, something clicks, like what you're talking about. Your aha moment is that it clicked in your head that it is okay. We can do this all. We can be a mom, and we can, run to school when we need to, and be a professional and create that amazing piece of architecture. And that's the choice that we make. And certainly there are sacrifices that come with that lifestyle. But there are so many benefits to a lifestyle like that as well. So that's a great aha moment. What's one thing that has you most excited about your business today?
I think that, I think that everybody has a lot of work right now. So I think that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
I think it's always exciting when you've got work. And then I'm like doing, another project that I think, like, design wise, I'm probably pretty excited about it. Like the Point Loma house, it's like you really don't have, I'm, the clients are, it's like they said, oh, we want something modern, we want something, this, but then there were also all of these restrictions with the planning code for the city of Coronado. So, at first I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to design everything with all these restrictions. Oh, and then they also have an art collection. And so they had to incorporate all this art on the walls, and the house is very small. So it's kind of been a real, but I think it's turning out, pretty good. So I think that's something that I'm excited about. And I think that there's, some other projects in the works. So
yeah, that's exciting. All right. So let's get into some quick questions. I have a list of quick questions that I have for you. And these can be, brief answers. You don't have to get too deep into them, but just, we'll go through these and see how it goes. At what age did you decide to become an architect?
Like 12.
Other than architecture, what makes you happy?
Oh, my family. That's an easy one. My family. I mean, as much as like sometimes, when you're trying to get something out and the kids are like, asking questions. I mean, even now they're 16, 18, and 22, and there's still like something like, oh, I need this, or, but I just really enjoy them. I mean, we're a creative family, and it can be really fun. So
what's the best advice you've ever received?
This is kind of funny because I thought that maybe the best advice was no advice that I got from.
Explain that.
The best advice I got from my grandparents and my parents, I think, is that when I said that I wanted to be an architect, nobody in my family ever said like, oh, you can't be an architect, or you're not good at math, or nobody ever said that in my family. And I've seen kind of, I've seen some other family situations where I think like they're kind of like shut down that way, and with me, I don't, they never told me that I couldn't do anything. and I mean, my I had kind of, my grandfather was a teamster. He had, he was a crane operator, and then like a union rep on the job site. And then my other grandfather was in construction. My dad had like worked for, my dad could draft. He had been an engineering major and then dropped out of school. But, and then my stepdad was a design engineer. So it's kind of, my mom was always encouraging and said, that you should get a degree, but she never said, get a degree, like what I should get it in, or, she just said like, you should get a college degree. And, when I said, and my grandmother, she was living with us when I was at community college, and I was living there, and she saw how hard I was working, and they never said like, oh, why are you sure you want to do this, or oh, you can't do this because you're a woman. And I mean, other people in other families, like that's what they go through. And really, it's like I was kind of my mom's side of the family, there were a lot of women who had who were born like the late 1800s. My grandmother was born in 1905, and they were very progressive. Half of them had gone to college and, like pursuing like a medical degree, and they were just kind of very, I guess, progressive for the time. So I never heard, I had these older aunts in the family, these great aunts, and they never said, oh, you can't do architecture. It was very, it's very good. I mean, that's the best advice.
Yeah, I love that. So your best advice was no advice. That it was support. It was, that
yes.
here was what you wanted to do, and they're like, okay, let's figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
What about one personal habit that contributes to your success?
This was funny because I asked my daughter, because you said personal habit, and I didn't know like what exactly you meant by personal habit. I said maybe coffee in the morning, and coffee like several times during the day. But my daughter was like, oh, you have peanut butter toast or bagel in the morning. And then what did she say? Oh, saying everyone's first and last name.
That's good.
She said, when I tell a story or something, I'm always using the person's first and last name for some reason. I don't know. And doing everything myself is one of the things that she said, which that's not really something that I want to do. But I put loving intensely.
That's a good one. And the peanut butter toast, I think, is good too.
Yeah.
What about an app or an internet resource that you would recommend?
EntreArchitect, right?
All right, I like that.
Yeah.
I'll take that. What about a book? Why a book that you would recommend, and why?
Oh, and anybody from #ArchiTalks. Like I like the Archispeak, of course. Bob. I mean, I would have never had I not made some smart ass comment on Bob's.
You have to be careful being a smart ass on Bob's blog.
I know. And then I got an email from him saying like, okay, I think it was something about women in architecture. And I think it was something that Rosa had that she had published, and then I had made some comment to Bob about it, and then he said, so do you want to blog, and I said sure. I had never blogged before. I had actually started that blog like a few years before, but I'd never written anything on it. So this was a way for me really to start, actually writing, and that's what makes me write every month, like giving a deadline and everything. So I think that's been a great thing.
Yeah. That's a great one. And anybody who's interested in the ArchiTalk series, they can go to pretty much any social media and search #ArchiTalks, and you'll find everybody's link. And every post that's an ArchiTalks post, at the bottom, everybody shares everybody else's post. So once you find one, you'll be able to read all of them for that series. And it's a series that happens every month, originally organized by Bob Werson over at lifeofanarchitect.com. What about a book? Recommended book, and why?
I would love to give some esoteric book, but I'm not. I mean, besides like Dr. Seuss or something like that. But yeah,
that's a good one.
Any Dr. Seuss book. But I was thinking a pattern language.
Oh, very good one. Yeah.
Yeah, by Christopher Alexander. I just think that it's just, I mean, you can read small pieces of it, and it was given to me by a friend. It was just supposed to, there you go.
I have it right behind me, within arm's reach.
Yes. And it was given to me by a friend who who passed away a couple years after he'd actually loaned it to me, and I still have it.
What's one thing an entrepreneur architect can do today to build a better business for tomorrow? So that's sort of an idea of something that somebody can execute very quickly and see a result happen in the short term.
I think the blogs have really been, I mean, I was kind of amazed by how many hits I've had on the blog. And, I mean, I can always refer clients to that. And, I think it's just a great experience. I mean, it's good for everybody, because we do have like this, this commonality, and experiences, and I just think it's a good way to learn about architecture and kind of express yourself, and then you can refer clients to it, and they can kind of look around, because I just think that a lot of people, I mean, our clientele, they don't really know what an architect does. They'll say, "Oh, you draw blueprints, right?" That's
right, exactly, yeah.
I think another thing is to talk to people in the public. Like, I was at a tile showroom. I was there 2 days in a row, and both times, there were people there that were trying to pick up tile, and then I was talking with the salesperson that I usually, and they said, "Oh, well, so do you do this? Do you do this?" And I said, "Oh, I'm an architect." And they said, "Well, I didn't know architects picked out the tile." And I said, "Oh, yeah." And I said, "Well, I'm like do residential architect." And then I told them that, and so it's like I still pass out my card. I think that just getting your name out there and talking to people about architecture and what architects do.
Yeah. If anybody is interested in the Architalks series, they can go to Life of an Architect and send Bob an email. And if you wanted to write as part of that series, Bob will put you on the list, and you'll get all the notification, and you could be part of it too. I think that's a great suggestion. Let's wrap things up with one parting piece of guidance, and then how best to connect with you.
Okay. I think people should just be real. I mean, you kind of touched on it, and I think that especially for residential architecture, I think that people will relate to you if you're just who you are. I mean, they're gonna have their kids. You've got your kids or something. Relating to that. One of the people that's an administrator at one of the local architecture schools was saying, "Oh, you're my favorite woman architect because you're real."
That doesn't say much for other women architects.
I know. or I don't know, or any architect. I don't know. And so I think just be real, and I also think that you should be yourself, and also be empathetic. I mean, I think one of the things Paul Goldberger actually said something about like how architects should be involved in social issues, and like there were a bunch of people that said architects don't need to be involved in social issues, and I'm like, well, we're designing spaces for people, which is a social issue.
Right, exactly.
So I think that if I think some of the people are saying, oh, architecture school doesn't prepare you for that, or it doesn't do that, but I mean, I think it should, and I think that there are schools out there that are kind of really really focusing on certain areas. Like I know Cal Poly, we used to have to go in fourth year. They used to have to go down to areas like Watts, and it would be kind of like redesigning the area. And in second year at Cal Poly, we had a project that we had to design a toy for. It used to be called Lanterman Institute. They don't even have it anymore, but it was it was a place for people who were mentally disabled. And so, we would given a project and we would, design a toy, and then they would come to the school and, we could give them the toy. And, I think projects like that are really good. And I think that they're really needed. And, it's all about, who your client is and designing something for your client.
What's the best way for listeners to connect with you if they wanted to reach out and thank you for sharing your knowledge today?
They can always go on my blog, or they can reach me at my email address, which is mghotettelarc@gmail.com.
Michele, thank you very much for joining me here today and for sharing your knowledge here at EntreArchitect Podcast.
Thank you so much, Mark.
If you liked what we shared today, complete show notes and a direct link to download this episode will be found at EntreArchitect.com/episode 163. And if you want to be a guest here at EntreArchitect Podcast as a featured entrepreneur architect, connect with us anywhere on social media. Just reach out to us or send an email directly to me at podcast@EntreArchitect.com. We want to help you share your story. podcast@EntreArchitect.com, and just send us a request that you want to be featured on the Entrepreneur Architect series here at EntreArchitect Podcast. And don't forget to visit the website at EntreArchitect.com/free course and pick up your free course, Profit for Small Firm Architects. EntreArchitect.com/free course will get you there, and it will teach you how to build a powerful profit plan that'll work for your small firm. My name is Mark Arlepage. I'm hoping that you like this new series. I want you to share your knowledge, so send me an email. Let me know. I'm an entrepreneur architect. I want you to share your knowledge, and I encourage you to go build a better business so you can be a better architect. Love, learn, share what you know. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark Arlepage, founder of EntreArchitect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.